It's been quite a week, of course, as it pertains to this AI story. More on what happened in Computex, and Jensen Huang, of course, on your left, and that's signature leather gear. On the right is, of course, the market cap conversation, and you have now between Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft 333 trillion, 9 trillion both. That's now taken the market cap of those three only above what you have for the entire Chinese stock market, excluding Hong Kong, which is, by the way, not a minnow. That's 9 trillion too. So it just goes to show how extreme the version's really been as far as this AI conversation. Disruptive.
And they're calling it Jensanity. Gosh, I mean, this brings us back to Linsanity. But yes, Jensanity was what really fueled this, right? This week that he had in Computex. He wasn't even a keynote speaker. He was just there to make a little bit of his own sort of pitch here. But certainly, you know, he was surrounded. It was a circus everywhere he went, whether it was having dinner with other CEOs. I mean, there was that picture that went viral too, Dave. He was signing his autograph on a girl's chest and all. But yeah, rock star status, basically.
There was, of course, a layer of clothing.
Yes.
Yes, okay. If you want to rephrase it.
You probably have seen it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. She was wearing clothes. Futurum Group CEO Daniel Newman now joins us now. He was there.
Yeah.
To see all that fanfare. Daniel, you're back in the States. I mean, just kind of give your key takeaways of what you saw in Taipei this week.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on the new show. Terrific. It was a huge week for tech. And of course, Jensen did kick it off. You pointed out it wasn't a keynote, but yet he filled the NTU stadium, or the basketball arena, the sports arena, with 4,000 plus people that all wanted to hear what he had to say. And it was an update to the GTC keynote. He was very focused on the data center. And the show, though, in Taipei, the Computex show, was really a lot about the AI PC. Now, of course, that was the Copilot Plus moment. So it was a big moment for Qualcomm, and then AMD, Intel, all had their new sort of PC variants. But like you said, I mean, Jensen is the driver of this AI movement, the $3 trillion valuation. Is there exuberance? Sure. But do they control the market? Absolutely. Are there companies that want to compete? They sure do. But I would say it was just reiterated just how much the market believes that Nvidia has a 5- and 10-year advantage right now, and that isn't changing by anything that any of the other companies said, especially as it pertains to AI in the data center.
Right. So is there any use even looking at, you know, our traditional measures of how we would measure a stock's valuation at this point, P, or pick your, you know, version of price to something, for example? Is it useful to even look at whether or not this is expensive or not, given the fact that you said it's not changing for 5 years?
Absolutely. I mean, look, investors still have to be thoughtful in their actions. You know, when it was trading at $150 or so in 2022 in July, I was saying this could be the buy of a lifetime when I was talking about just the AI movement in the companies that had the opportunity. And then when it hit over 900, I put an op-ed out and I said, you know, it's made a really great run. And that doesn't mean it's not a great company, but you are talking about it has very high concentration with 5 customers. It has a big pull forward on the buying for CapEx. You have every hyperscale cloud provider on the planet looking to build their own chip. You have Intel and AMD coming in behind. And of course, you have margins that you have to ask, how sustainable are these margins? But having said that, you know, if you are a defensive investor, if you want to be in on AI and you want to kind of be safe, it feels like NVIDIA is still the safest bet.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what price action has told us recently. Certainly, this obsession around the company. I mean, you probably know the Cathie Wood story, and of course, ARK's experience with Nvidia. They took it from, I think, stock split adjusted $4, wrote it all the way to 400. So they've done well. I was actually speaking, Dan, with Cathie Wood yesterday, which I want to play out. I want to get your thoughts on that. And effectively, she laid out that the reasons why they got out at 400, they effectively said maybe at that point in time, it's time to broaden out the plays on AI, for example. Let's play it out, guys, please, for our viewers.
We're saying to ourselves, wait a minute. If NVIDIA is going to keep running like this, the only reason it should deserve to do that is if it's going to benefit a lot of other companies. And we began to look at what those other companies might be. We did pull away, and I suppose it was a bit of a statement, but we said, hey, if this is not going to benefit other companies, then what is this move in Nvidia all about?
Dan, suffice to say, I guess in hindsight, if maybe they knew it would go to 1,200, maybe they would have made a different decision. But I think the other point they were making there is concentration risk around playing AI. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, I mean, Cathie Wood has been criticized heavily, and I guess in the long run, we'll see if she was right or wrong. But, my overall perspective on it is the concentration is high. I've heard up to 19% from a single customer, multiple double-digit percent customers. We have had this huge CapEx pull forward. We've seen benefits like Dell has been a huge beneficiary, but then we've also seen some scrutiny to their gross margins in recent earnings reports, where they've done 1.7 billion, but some of the analysts asking questions on the call is saying, well, how much margin is this adding? So it does seem that the Nvidia is the biggest beneficiary. And maybe in the long run, I think it's the SaaS providers, but they're actually being hit pretty hard right now.
So, I mean, can you talk us a bit more? I mean, who is still best positioned to rival, I guess, Nvidia when it comes to AI chip design right now?
Look, in the short run, you have to give a lot of credit. This wasn't an accident. This is 10 plus years of hard work. They were considered a gaming company, but Jensen had the vision for accelerated computing all along. Intel sort of pulled away. Now they're getting back in with Gaudi. They're coming in with a price position on their new Gaudi 3, saying we're about a third less. Unquestionably, Lisa Su, the $4 billion pipeline they've had for their MI product is interesting. The software is going to be the story is, can they get away from that abstraction, that CUDA abstraction that everyone says is so tightly locked in? But the kind of the dark horse here is the cloud providers, all of them, Azure, AWS, Google, they're all making chips. Google trained its entire Gemini model on its own infrastructure, on its own TPU. And then, of course, you've got companies like Broadcom, which have run really well on great business principles under Hock Tan, and they're doing it by basically delivering these custom ASICs, these custom silicon to companies. And of course, they've got the networking, the Ethernet networking, which Jensen actually validated during Computex.
You mentioned about AI PCs as well, Daniel, which is sort of this new thing. Obviously, AMD, Intel, these are people that are really trying to maintain that market share in that. Qualcomm has kind of emerged as this sort of PC AI sort of star as well. I mean, is Qualcomm becoming a bigger name in all this? And can Nvidia also join in on this more directly?
Yeah, absolutely. So Qualcomm had a tremendous show. It actually goes back to Microsoft Build about 2 or 3 weeks ago when Satya Nadella and the team sort of anointed Qualcomm and the Snapdragon X Elite as its preferred Copilot Plus. And of course, you saw at Computex, Lisa Su came out with new specs on their Strix Point. 50 tops is the number they use. Intel showed their Lunar Lake. But Qualcomm got the early advantage, and Qualcomm overall has become a really interesting company. They've entered PC very successfully. They've got a $45 billion automotive design pipeline, and now they got Microsoft saying they're the AI PC partner that they were leading with. And of course, eventually Satya showed up for everyone. And then you heard Rene Haas from ARM basically come out and say he believes that 50% of the PC market in 5 years can be based on ARM. And you would have to say that Qualcomm has a significant advantage there. Now, he could be talking about Mac, although Macs are not PC in most people's eyes. But that's a big leap. And really right now, it would have to be Qualcomm and its partners, and then some new entrants like maybe MediaTek and Nvidia, to your point. There seems to be some thoughts that may be a thing, and the rumors have definitely been out there.
Daniel, of course, we're on the China show, so we have to ask, what China, and their role in this whole AI race as well. I mean, their access, of course, to these advanced AI chips has been, I guess, gone through some hurdles here right now. How do you think these Chinese players are going to get these today and even in the future?
Yeah, look, there's plenty of speculation about China being able to get its hands on chips through multiple different, sources. We've heard, through Singapore, through the Middle East, and of course, that's always been a challenge through history in terms of managing any of these chip controls. Of course, in terms of its own development, China, it would be very reckless for the West or for the United States or for any other part of the world to rule out its ability to build its own. We've already seen it, taping in at 7 nanometer, being able to make things in low production. That'll accelerate. Of course, we saw what it was able to do on the handset side with Harmony and with Huawei, being able to develop something very meaningful that impacted Apple in a short period of time. So I think China is going to move the needle forward. It is going to find a way to compete, and it is going to find a way to get product. I do not rule it out, and I think it would be a mistake to. Having said that, without access to all the ASML and all the chip technology and getting all the most advanced silicon, it does put them at a significant disadvantage.
Daniel, in 30 seconds, please, if you could, antitrust, and are these companies becoming too dominant from the perspective of regulators? Is that something we should worry about?
Look, I put an op-ed out about this. I think it's on the fringe. It's a little bit early because usually you have to have this advantage for an elongated period of time. Early and straight away, Nvidia has market share in GPU like Intel and in CPU, but it never became a full-on antitrust issue. Nvidia has been remarkably successful. It will see antitrust, but I don't know if they will be able to really break that as we move forward.